Hey guys, welcome to my 100th YouTube video. Today I've got a quick little job for the sawmill. I'm after some western red cedar that I'm gonna dig out of my junk pile here. I've got a guy that I'm working with whose father-in-law is looking to add some railing or something to his deck and needs a couple of quick pieces of cedar. It's a great way to use up some of my junk logs or scrap pieces or cut-offs or whatever I got laying around in my pile that I can't seem to throw away or do anything with. So I'm gonna turn some junk wood into a couple $100 in an evening after work. Now you might remember this beauty. This is left over from that cedar project I did last summer for the World Forestry Center. This piece is 16 feet long and it's over 17 inches across right now. I'm gonna make 4 boards that are 5/4 thick and 10 inches wide. And they only need to be 12 feet long, so I'm gonna go grab the chainsaw and cut about 3.5 feet off of this so I'm not sawing through more than I need to. First thing I'm going to do is cut this down and get the center of it out, a 10-inch wide cant by 8 1/4, and then I'll cut my 5/4 slabs out of it. So now I'm going to roll the cant so that the wide side is up. I'm going to make a trim cut just so that I can align the surface with my blade, and then I'll start making my 5/4 slabs. Well, I guessed where to take my edge cuts off of this this cant here, and my guess paid off. My last cut is right on the edge of the wane, so I got my 4 solid boards. Lucked out on that one. Now, if you remember in my Western Red Cedar video I did, mild steel and cedar do not mix, even for a short period of time. So I'm going to take a scrap piece of white cedar that I have and lay it across my forks before I put these boards on it so that I don't stain the wood. That is some almost perfectly clear cedar. A couple little tiny pinhole knots, but that is some nice stuff. So now I need some 2x8s that are 6 feet long, 1.5 inches by 7.5. And I think I've got enough here to get some of that. Now I'm going to cut this down from a 10-inch wide board to an 8-inch or 7.5-inch wide board, but the clamp, the log clamp, won't go down to clamp onto a board that narrow, so I'm going to put a block of wood in there to space it. Now this 2x8's got a little bit of bug activity here in the end of it. I'll cut the first 16 inches out and get the 6 feet out of the rest of it. Beauty. Well, how epic would it have been on my 100th video if I would have turned 100 hours on the sawmill? I was almost there, but not quite. As you might know, I went to the Wood-Mizer open house here in Oregon last weekend, and I talked to a handful of guys who watch the channel, which is always fun. I love talking with you guys and answering questions and just doing what I can to help out. And one of the guys I talked to is looking at a mill, but he wasn't sure he could justify how expensive they seemed to be right off the bat. But in less than 2 hours, far less than 2 hours, on an evening after work with a couple of logs out of a junk pile, a guy can make a couple $100. It doesn't happen every day, of course, but when you've got the sawmill, these little jobs, they seem to find you. I've got 3 more lining up. It was kind of a slow summer, I'll admit, but now that my day job is slowing down, the weekend stuff is picking up, and that's perfect. But anyways, I appreciate you guys watching as always, and we'll see you real soon. Now, as I mentioned in my last red cedar video, I did Western, take 3. Now, if you remember in my Western red cedar, geez.